Kozak.
He likes to point out he's actually younger than me.
Frank Kozak. He's kind of like the dark twin of Ron English, isn't he? In a way, isn't he sort of an evil version of you?
Yeah, or I'm the evil version of him.
Well, we can let other people decide that.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the super fucking Suckhour. See, I told you it wasn't over. Everybody gets all fucking nervous just because you skip a couple of months doing your well-acclaimed, highly sought-after internet television program, and then you stop it for a minute and everybody starts fucking crying. So here it is, and we're back with a big one. We got fucking Ron English in the motherfucking house, and we're in his studio apartment place in some undisclosed place in upstate New York.
Because I was too lazy to come to your place.
Well, yeah, that's true, but it's okay because we do like to keep the backgrounds different, and the environment you're in is such an extension of who you are and what you do. I figured it'd be a shame to just put you in some stupid white room.
Yeah. What they call me, the official word is hoarder.
A hoarder?
Yeah,
you hoard your own shit.
I'm a high-end hoarder. Oh, I have all kinds of people's stuff.
Yeah, but you seem to collect your own work as well.
Well, the idea is this room was supposed to display all of the projects I worked on, but you can see it gets cluttered with other people's stuff too.
I don't see anything other than your own shit in here.
Oh, really? Do you want me to point some stuff out?
Sure, why not?
Okay.
Without getting up.
Without getting up?
Well, if you must. What do you got? Okay. Okay, Paul Kaiju.
Yeah,
Hey, we love Paul Kaiju, and oddly enough, it's one of the least colorful things up there on the wall.
Oh, that's not mine. This isn't mine.
Okay, you made your point. You made your point. You made your point. I get it.
This isn't mine.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
Come back and sit down.
There's so much stuff, you know?
Yeah, I know. Well,
All
it's...
blends together. All of our toys look alike. You can't tell one from the other.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the point you can have enough, don't you think?
If you're not involved in the culture, it's just all weird toys, right?
But don't you think there's a point where you just have enough?
No, I think too much is not enough in my case.
Well, hopefully that's also true of the people that buy your stuff.
Right.
Because there sure is a lot of it.
Well, I have two more studios, 3 more floors here full of crap. It's like, I have a problem. Yeah. We're going to start a show called High-End Hoarders.
Okay, and it's just going to be
Because they have a show about hoarders, and it's just about people that collect crap. But you know, I've met people who collect, $200,000 paintings. They have hundreds of them. They put them on the ceiling. They put them everywhere, and you realize they're not really hanging them properly. They're just packing rooms with them. And basically, that's what they are. They're hoarders, but they're hoarding stuff that's worth a lot of money.
You consider that?
I think that's a good show. Do
you consider that to be
a lot of
collecting?
Hollywood producers watch this show, right?
Yeah.
So this is a good place to pitch this show, right?
Actually,
high-end hoarders.
There's a couple of them, I guess so. But I mean, is there a difference between collecting and hoarding in that regard?
No. It's just it's
just some people display.
You call yourself a collector because it's derogatory to call yourself a hoarder.
But you think that there's some sort of mental illness behind it?
Well, there's a mental illness behind everything humans do.
Okay, yeah, but they're all very distinct and specific, aren't they? What are people chasing when they collect stuff like this? Like, are all your clients and customers a little weird and?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I'm certainly weird.
Yeah, I know.
But I'm not a completionist. Like Lev at Toy Tokyo has like completionist sets of all my toys, and so like when I go there, I go like I don't have the green bunny, I don't have the yellow bunny. He has way more of my toys than I do.
And are you okay with that?
I think I would have a hard time being a completionist. Like a guy came by here a few weeks ago and he was looking at all the little Ronalds and he was just like obsessing. And he flew in from Germany and he wanted to come up here and get some stuff that he didn't have. And so like it's kind of like, well, if I pay you this amount of money, would I rather have one stupid more little toy there? Or would I like to have a bunch of money? And it's like with me, it's like I don't care.
Yeah, I'd rather have the money too.
Right.
I mean, that's why I always feel like so at odds with this business because I think I don't really know if this is really producing any true happiness for people. I always talk about this. It's like I'm just wondering because I've had people who collect my stuff suddenly wake up one day and be like, "Oh my God, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
Get it out of here." I'd much rather have like human relationships. I mean, you feel like a crack pusher
with my painting collection. Okay, so like when you came in, there was a Shepherd Ferry. That Shepherd Ferry, we traded pieces, but we stayed up all night, like bombing in L.A. And so like there was kind of a story. And the Banksy piece, we're in Palestine, and the Kenny Sharp piece, it's like you do something together, you have this great memory, and then you swap art. And then so I always look at that, and no, I get a lot of joy out of. I think I'd probably be a very depressive person if I wasn't always surrounded by art.
Yeah, but also, like what you're saying, it's not really about the object itself. It's about everything that sort of goes around the object, or just like how it came to you.
But a great artist, their art is them.
Yeah.
It is them. Yeah, you own a little piece of them.
So you've mastered that because whenever you sell a piece of artwork to somebody, you give them the whole Ron English experience. They get to be around you and feel all of this. And
But whatever that painting is, I mean, that was like the complete focus of my life for a month. Like that's all I thought about. That's all I did for a month.
Right.
You know, besides some eating and drinking, but
okay, well,
a little sleeping.
yeah, everybody,
Not much of that.
Everybody does that.
No, but I mean, that's, you know, like if you buy a painting from somebody, like for a period in their life, that's their whole life was about that painting. And that's all they thought about. They thought about every inch of that painting, and they dreamed about that painting, and they woke up and they worked on that painting. So you kind of, that's a very important piece of their life that's hanging on your wall.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point to make, you know. And I suppose, I don't know, how do you feel when you're making that painting? I mean, does it feel magical to you, or does it just feel like work? Or do you also have that sense when you're making it work that it's...
Well, you have a different experience of the world. You don't experience time anymore. Like I have really bad back problems, and the reason I have them is I'll slump over and start painting a part, and 6 hours will go by, and I won't realize that it went by. People come talk to me. You could say, "Hey, would you lend me $1,000?" I'm like, "Yes."
Oh,
but I don't know you, you know. But I have no
good to know.
consciousness of anything that's going on. You go into this tripped out world for a long time
until you suddenly feel this stabbing pain in your back, and then you have to get up.
Or when you know it's time for lunch and you can't get up. But
so well,
but no, it definitely changes your reality when you're working and you're focusing on something.
How the fuck do you make so much big shit? Like every time I turn around, there's some gallery full of your work, and it's gigantic. Like how the fuck do you do all of that?
Well, there's no secret.
Do you paint fast?
I've been doing it forever. I can do it rather quickly, but also, you know, I get up when the sun gets up and I start working.
Do you
immediately.
Are you working on? Do you do like assembly line style, or do you paint one painting at a time?
No,
or
I
do you
paint
several
multiple
at a
paintings
time?
because I do underpaintings. So like I'll work on the underpaintings and I build models before I do the paintings.
Right.
So.
Yeah, we saw some of those models in the basement. That's pretty cool.
So like today is Sunday. A normal Sunday, I would work on all the model stuff and build all the sets. So I usually set that aside to work on that.
I mean,
so
is every time you paint, are you looking at something paint? Is it off the brain, or are you always using some physical reference?
Different ways. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool.
But you know, also it's weird because like so like if I show in LA, like LA spawned the big pop surrealist movement, right? So actually my work is more dense there and it's more pop surrealist. The New York work is more pared down. The work like in the Pacific Rim is even more pop. So
and
you
have that all in mind before you even begin.
Yeah, I work on different bodies of work for different regions.
Right. So you don't just paint a painting for the hell of it. You paint a painting because you know it's going into a particular show in a particular place.
Well, no, I paint a show. So the show tells a big story.
Oh, I see.
Like for that one moment the show's together, it tells this big epic story. And then it gets broken up and goes its separate ways. But yeah, I feel like I'm making a movie, not a show.
Interesting. I see. Okay. Or you're making a TV show with 12 episodes or whatever.
And then I have like a certain amount of paintings that are just these weird orphan paintings because like when I'm creating the show, as it comes up to the end, I won't finish a couple of the paintings, and then I'll finally finish them. So then you have these paintings that fit this show in LA, but they don't fit the New York show or any of the shows coming up. So then that's when I have all those weird paintings downstairs that have never been shown.
And
before.
What happens to those?
They go to the warehouse, and then they will become the property of my children when I die.
Oh, okay, and hopefully they'll be worth something then.
Yeah. Well, that's the weird thing about art is, you know, it's worth X amount of money now, but it'll be worth hella more money later. So
is that guaranteed? Of any artist?
Yeah, I can tell you who it's going to happen for and who it's not. There's factors that factor into it. It's like how famous they are they part of a movement? You know, how prominent in that movement are they?
But I mean, if you've got to a certain level, would it always stay there, or is even the greats could go down too, right?
No,
not
only maybe just for a very short period of time, but in the long run, it's like blue chip stock. It's a good investment.
So you think you're a good investment?
Yeah.
You don't think you could do something totally fucked up and ruin it?
Yeah, but what am I going to do at this point that's going to fuck it up and ruin it?
I have no idea. Have you ever done anything that was off-brand?
You know,
have you ever done anything that you felt was like a misstep or something that
I've done things that I
out?
set on fire and threw away. You know, because sometimes you're kind of enamored of your own cleverness in a weird way, and you think, okay, like I'm on some side of a political issue, but you know, just for shits and giggles, I'm going to create an iconic image that tells the story of the other side and would help them, and then usually I just destroy it. But I just go through the exercise of creating it because that tells the story like very quickly and very easily. So if I actually existed on the other side of this political issue, I could be a good political tool for them, you know.
Really, and you would be willing to do that?
No.
Well-
But I mean, I like to create the piece just to look at it and think, okay, that's weird.
But I mean, if
that
you-
would work
if
for
so-
them. It's a good thing that they can't figure that out because that would really help their cause.
But don't you think some people that are fans of yours or collectors of yours, say you just took some horrendous position, like some weird right-wing Republican, fascist position, and unironically in one of your paintings, you
Right.
think that would fuck anything up
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. For a while.
for a while?
Because usually history forgives everything, you know.
Right.
You know, if Wagner's making music for the Nazis, it's like still cool music.
Well,
It's like,
I know, if I may bring up a subject, there were some people that got a little weirded out when you did that Chris Brown collaboration.
Oh,
Did you
right.
catch any heat from that? Because a lot of Chris Brown has allegedly slapped around a few of his girlfriends, and I remember when you came out with that collaboration with him, some people were like, "What the fuck is Ron doing?" I mean,
Yeah.
what did you feel any of that, or did that? You didn't give a shit at all? Or?
Well, most of my clients are my age, so I don't think any of us really knew anything about him. We just knew he was young, and that maybe our kids would think we were a little cooler that we did something with somebody young.
Did that happen?
Actually, I got tons of new fans of young people that were into him, and then they liked that I did something with him. So.
And nobody harassed you about the fact that he was kind of like a woman beater?
I think that Tara McPherson's husband did.
Yeah, he got kicked out of Toy Tokyo for wearing some controversial T-shirt.
Right.
How did you feel about all of that? Did you give a shit, or did you not even really know it was happening?
I don't think that. The part I was kind of like that was kind of freaking me out a little bit because I saw like this video with Michael Jackson, right? He gets out of a limo and then this girl goes, "Ah!" and then he just pass out. I mean, he hit the ground.
Yeah, that happened. That happened at the signing.
Yeah, like you noticed one girl after the other. It's like it became contagious.
Falling on the ground, literally.
Yeah, and then he had the two guys, catching him and sitting him outside, and
God, I couldn't.
but I never experienced anything like that up to that point. But I kind of knew that existed, but I'd never seen people to react to somebody. And then
They
in a
weren't
way,
fainting over you, Ron.
He kept saying they were. They're fainting over you, Ron. It's like, yeah, I'm freaking them out. No, but I mean, that was very interesting human behavior, and I'm glad I got to experience that, And I've never hit a woman in my life, would never think about it. I'm just, I don't know. I mean, I know the story of what actually happened. It's a weird moment. And, is somebody allowed to have a really bad moment and fuck up, so like they're an asshole for 10 seconds of their life,
Well, I mean,
and then it has to follow them around forever.
I know. Look at
know.
Roman Polanski. That guy can't do anything anymore. Wasn't he supposed to come do something for the Oscars? He was up for some award. They just every time that guy's head pops up, it's like, no, go back down in your hole, you pedophile. So it's like, I mean, I'm not taking a stand personally, but it just seems like not everybody can come back. Some people seem to be bulletproof, and some people fuck up once and then it's over.
Yeah, but some people
Depends
don't
on
know.
what you
Some
do.
people also don't know how to ask for forgiveness, and a lot of getting out of something is being sorry.
Oh,
about
to
it.
give this big mea culpa in public
Yeah.
and
Yeah, or
supplicate
at least
yourself.
express that, and then if you never engage in that kind of behavior again, it does seem like a one-off. And then if it becomes habitual behavior, then at some point you have to cut bait on somebody and say you can't be a part of a society and act that way anymore.
Yeah, I guess, but I guess who gets to decide those things? I mean, I guess if it's a market-driven world, people still go to see Woody Allen movies, even though there's certain people that absolutely despise him for X, Y, Z reason.
Right.
And he seems completely doesn't give a fuck at all about any of that, and he just keeps doing his
No,
thing.
I mean, I like, that Tara's husband took a stand, and I respect him for that, But, I came from a different position. First, I didn't know anything about that. I mean, because...
But does that get you off
But I mean,
the hook?
we did a thing with... No, I'm just saying, but that went into it not thinking I'm gonna make a statement that we should all whoop ass on our fucking girlfriends because this is the statement I'm trying to make by working with this guy. That wasn't the statement I was making at all.
I know, but it could be perceived as such, and I guess it doesn't seem like it. It just seems like...
No, okay, like another
sort of
point, like where I
incongruous.
really went, got into a lot of trouble is I went down to Baltimore and did this festival there, and I did a billboard that said "The King of the Jews for the King of the Beers," and it was Jesus like hawking a Budweiser,
Right.
and they actually burnt the billboard to the ground, and it was 200 Christian radio stations. Keith Olbermann, it was like all over the national
Keith
news.
Olbermann got mad at you?
He had it. He talked about it on the show.
But
it became like a national incident, and then all the Christian radio stations, some of them went on for like 2 weeks talking about how I'm Satan and I'm an
But that's
asshole.
good for you. That's on brand for you because it's like that's one of the main things that you critique in your work.
No, but yeah, and also a weird thing is the weird Southern Christian Bible Belt people do not participate whatsoever in art history. They don't give a fuck.
Right.
So so if you get them mad at you, it's of no consequence. It actually makes the people that are on your side like you a little more.
Yeah, it's a great spectacle, and it's a
because you
safe
poke
spectacle.
those guys in the eye. But like, let's say with Andre Serrano, right? He did, Piss Christ.
Yeah.
Now he did that in the New York art world, and he was kind of a heroic figure. All the Christians thought he should burn in hell for eternity.
But I mean, they probably would have thought that anyway. I mean, I guess the
the point is, if he did Piss Martin Luther King, then maybe the art world wouldn't have rallied behind him.
Yeah, but I guess that's the question I'm asking. It's one thing, like, you have these easy targets, that are not, they don't study art history, they're not going to buy your stuff, and it's easy to poke fun at, like, conservatives, Christians, and Republicans, and, all the,
well, Republicans do buy a lot of my art. So.
Yeah, oh, that's interesting. How does that play out?
Well, there's different kinds of Republicans, too. People are Republicans for different reasons. If somebody is in the Midwest and they're a factory worker that hasn't worked in 10 years, they're going to vote Republican because they believe that, specifically, a lot of those guys voted for Trump because they thought he's going to bring jobs back to America. He's going to bring manufacturing back to America. I'm going to have a fucking job. My cousin's going to have a job.
Right.
And now, that's different than like a Wall Street guy who just wants things deregulated so they can make more money.
Yeah,
or somebody that owns a bunch of factories that says, I dropped $200,000 to put these stupid, filters on my smokestacks, and I don't want to have to spend that money, and I don't want to have to clean up the environment after I've destroyed it.
Sure, but I don't give a shit if people.
I want to offload that onto the rest of society,
right?
And because it's for business, so they're Republican so they can get away with more that way. So everybody's a Republican. It's a Republican. They're Republicans for different reasons.
Yeah, that's true. Have you ever refused to sell work to somebody because of their political views?
No.
You don't give a shit. Or would you? Would you ever do that? Because I know Richard Prince is doing that now. I guess there's certain people that want to buy his stuff, and he's telling him, fuck you, you're a Trump supporter, fuck off.
Yeah.
Would you ever do anything like that? Or is the money too green?
That kind of happens anyway, but maybe not as much for political reasons, but for... the problem is you can only make a very small amount of paintings. Mm-hmm. Even if you work very hard, and it seems like you're making a lot of paintings, but you're not Detroit. You're not making cars. You can't just keep cranking them out. You can't have other people make them. You have to make them. So if you only have like 10 paintings in a show, and you got 50 people that want to buy the paintings, then the dealer's going to probably say, "Are you on the board at the MoMA? What's going to happen to this painting?
Right.
Are you going to go put it in a warehouse and then take it to auction in 5 years and compete with us? Or so are you going to leverage this painting? Are you a Hollywood producer and it's going to be in a movie, or do you know what I mean?"
Right, but that's more of just a sort of economic decision at the end of the day, because you're trying to position the work.
But economics is also politics.
I guess, but I mean but for personal reasons. Like, say somebody was going to buy your painting, and do all the things you want them to do with it, but they're like they give money to, like, say, anti-gay conversion therapy or some example, like they're a product of some. Some just abhorrent political position. Would you ever tell them to fuck off, or would you just look the other way and take the money?
Well, if they were that egregious, I would probably tell them to fuck off, because they could easily flip that painting and make money and then use that to support a cause that I'm completely against.
Right, and also, I mean, there got to be some just sort of personal and political satisfaction of denying somebody something that they want, right. and holding them accountable in some regard for.
Well, and also, it's like, what are you doing? Like, if you say, I just want to earn money, it's like, nobody wants to just earn money. It's like, why do you want money? It's like, if you boil it down, I want power, or I want a swimming pool. It's like, so you don't really want money, you want a swimming pool.
Right.
So, and ultimately, like, if you boil it down to me, what do I ultimately want? Is like, I want to create social change, and I want to make the world a better place, and my art is kind of a vehicle to do that. And
is it?
Yeah, at the bottom of my heart, like, if they think, well, how would your art fit? Well, obviously, I've turned down shit tons of money. Like, Camel Cigarettes said, we'll give you $200,000 to do this, and I can't do that. Sorry, so
why not? Why that?
Well, they're trying to make little kids smoke. It's like, you want me to help you do that? I've been fighting against you for 10 years, and now
that would seem kind of off-brand.
Right.
But how are you enjoying Trump these days? How's that? How does that play into your? I mean, there's a lot of material coming out. Like,
okay, well, it's weird. When he came down the escalator, I thought, holy shit. Because I knew that he had gotten 3 months ahead of the game. And I also know there's this weird human thing that, if he says some kind of outrageous things, and people are tired of Obama talking really slow and thinking twice about everything he says. And, and then you just look at him and says, I kind of like that guy. Now I don't know anything about that guy. I'm some guy from the Midwest. I don't know anything about that guy. But as soon as I say that, and you hear it, and the people around me hear that, they're like, oh, yeah, Eddie kind of likes that guy, yeah. And then as I slowly find out about all these egregious things about him, I'm going to actually not be turned off by him. because I'm going to have to defend my original position.
So you're going to double down.
So I'm going to double down, and I'm going to argue in his favor to the point where he says, if I go shoot people on Fifth Avenue, my followers won't abandon me.
He was right.
But he understood that. But I came up at the same time as him. Like when in the '80s, when he was doing all those media stunts and stuff, we were doing the same thing. We were going on talk shows with fake problems, and just and like in exchange for us acting like that, me and my wife were fighting. They would show like a 30-second clip of my art, and so in a weird way, we were playing that weird game as him. And the more egregious you are, the more time you get on TV. And then once you get on TV with all these people, the camera will stay on you as long as you're the wildest. If you start going tame, then the camera switches to the other person. Then it becomes a competitive kind of thing. And so in a lot of ways, I think when he came down that escalator, I knew who he was. And I knew exactly what he was doing.
And did you think he was going to win?
And I knew he was going to win. But I knew he was going to win. I had no special insight except for the fact that when Facebook came out, I found all my old friends from high school who still work at factories in the Midwest, and I have all my relatives down south that they're hardcore Republicans, because they're kind of a bit rednecks. And then we had another wing of our family that are all Republican operatives. So I knew at least three different kinds of Republicans, and then I also knew the New York guys that are just trying to make money. Mm-hmm. So I saw a huge base for him,
And did you? And
I have self-selected in my life, and I have curated my life, and if you ask me if I know any stupid people, I would have to say I do not know any stupid people. I know really intelligent, brilliant people, and that's my whole life. That's all. Even as I travel the world in a bubble. I fly to really superstar people and do, everywhere I go, it's like great people. But, it took a long time to craft that life. And then you have to remember, it's like, remember when you're young. So like what really helped me understand, like, this guy I used to play drums with, like when I was like a little kid, like 8 years old and 10 years old. He is totally bought into Trump. And he's just like, look, like, wake the fuck up, Ron. Wake the fuck up. Do you not understand? Fucking Hillary, oh my God, she is prostituting little children out of the back of a fucking pizza parlor, and that's who you want to be fucking around the country? Wake the fuck up, Ron. What the fuck is wrong with you? What the fuck is wrong with you?
I thought you
don't get it.
I thought you said you were only surrounded by intelligent people.
Oh, except for tapping into the little portholes from this other universe.
Okay, but as far as your work goes, does this phenomenon, is this give you? How does it inform your work? Do you continue to?
Well, I thought politically, as we, like with Obama, it was kind of easy peasy for us. We actually got a call from the campaign. They said we're going to take, we want 8 street artists. I think it was like Shepard Fairey, David Cho, Sam Flores. Like they picked 8 people and they said, we want you to do this print and we want you to, go on this campaign and promote the candidate. And we're like, yeah, let's go. We're down with the candidate. And they said, be real positive. And so that was kind of easy for us to promote him in that way. But it wasn't easy for us to promote Hillary in that way. I mean, we came out for Bernie early, and it's like you could tell that they were going to just sabotage him. And then we were stuck with Hillary, and she wasn't that great of a candidate. She wasn't that interested in us doing, we contacted the campaign and said we want to do the same thing.
She didn't even know who Pepe the fucking Frog was. So I think she lost the whole fucking youth millennial vote because of that.
But we said we'll do the same thing we did, for Obama, for you. We'll get all the street kids out and the street artists, and they had no interest in that. They thought they had it in the bag with, middle-aged women.
Okay, but was that fine for you?
No, but it was a weird position because we wanted to be involved, with our art, but we couldn't. It's like you can't. I didn't know how to promote her. It didn't seem genuine, and then at the same time, I didn't know how to attack him because you can't attack him without making him bigger. Yeah. I did like a building-sized mural of him as Humpty Dumpty falling off a wall in Brooklyn, but it just makes him seem bigger. Every time you make fun of him, it makes him bigger, and he gets bigger, and it's like it's putting more hot air in the big balloon.
So then, how does that affect your process then? If you want to continue to make, are you interested in making work that specifically critiques what this administration's doing or the trends in the country, or do you draw what sort of material do you draw out of this then, right. Or like going forward, like what's do you respond specifically to him, or do you just, because now you have, like, if you're going to go paint something for Obama and you're hired by Obama to paint something, you're not acting as like a sort of critic in that situation.
No, but most of my life I've been a critic, and that was the first time that ever I was actually for something, instead of being against something. It's fun or
Is that
easier.
harder to do that
It's
kind of
easier to
work?
parody something than to promote something.
Yeah, no shit, because then you lose all the humor and all
Right,
and the edge
right.
to it, and then you seem like you've been
And
sort
even
of
going into
co-opted.
Obama, it's like when they first called us, I'd already been doing stuff, and I had like a McCain billboard, and it was him like at a rally, and it was obviously an ad for Viagra. It had a big Viagra thing on it. It said, "I want to get erected," and whatever. I mean, I was having fun with it.
Yeah, and that's just writes itself.
Right, right. So, and then they asked me, could you please just keep it completely positive and just drop all that shit, And I'm like, and I was really scared at the end because it seemed like that the other guys were piling on him and that he wasn't fighting back. And he goes, they were like, we know what we're doing. We just got to stay positive. And we said, well, we're totally stressed, but yeah, we'll stay positive,
Okay, so now it's a time to go negative?
We're confused. I don't know. I think everybody's rallying, trying to figure out how to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, I suddenly felt like everything I was doing was just completely unimportant, but then I don't want to suddenly have to just make all this political art all the time, and it's like, I don't want to just make art criticizing Trump, but
Right.
I figured wanted to be able to donate money or something. I mean, I felt like just because you make a piece of artwork that says, hey, this is an important thing that everyone should think about, here it is on a wall, buy it, and then you keep the money, is that really enough to do shit to make a difference in the world?
It's good to try to look ahead and understand what they're doing and how things are going to work. Like, they're going to go after protesters. I guess probably some people have already broken windows. I'm not paying that close of attention. But they want that, and sometimes you'll actually send an operative in to go into a provocateur to go amp it up a little bit, like set a car on fire. And
so then they have an excuse to crack down next time.
Crack down or dismiss you as a bunch of whiny babies. This is your political statement is setting a limo on fire. You're an idiot.
Right.
And when we very first became politically active, it was over the NEA, in New York, and then we formed this group, the Coalition Opposed to Censorship in the Arts, and we were doing these rallies and stuff. And then suddenly in the group, these new people came in and go, look, we're not going to get their attention unless we fucking blow something up. We got to blow something up, And then we realized it's like, these are fucking guys from the CIA. This is not like
really
East Village political activists. These are CIA dudes.
That was true.
They drop them in, and then they get that's you can always tell them because they want nobody in the right minds is trying to save the NEA by blowing shit up.
I mean, it's reasonable to think that somebody might think that,
But more likely than not, that's a lot of times that's what they'll do is they'll send people to watch you. And if you start having open meetings with people that are doing something like that, somebody in that crowd is monitoring.
But then I guess it must mean that they're scared of you, or that you're doing something that they actually think could do something.
Or they're just doing their job and making sure that you guys aren't terrorists or something. I don't know. I mean, it's whatever you think it is.
So what happened? You say no.
But
we don't
the
want to
person that's trying to push it, into violence is typically not like a real activist. It's an agitator that wants to get you guys, wants to damage what you're doing.
What about the Boston Tea Party?
Well, that was a good one.
But that was an act of not violence, but it was it was property destruction.
Yeah, and I mean it was kind of shitty that they dressed up like Indians, right? I mean, like what the poor Indians do,
I guess. I guess.
Blame it on the Indians.
But I mean, it's like there's always this we've been having this conversation, and not a lot after the Richard Spencer got punched, and how everybody was so overjoyed to see that, without really asking the questions that come after that. It's like when you're going down like a sort of slippery slope if you start condoning that kind of thing. On the other hand, if you're on the left, you don't want to seem like a bunch of mamby-pamby pussies that can't throw a punch when it needs to be thrown. So it's just like, I don't know.
But I think a lot of it is getting ahead of whatever the argument is. So, so like this is kind of a little bit unrelated, but we had this big building in Jersey City, and all artists lived there. 200 artists, old tobacco factory. The owner had over 1,000 buildings around New York, and he had almost practically won this building in a poker game. Mm-hmm. That's not what happened, but somebody owed him money, went to prison, and he ended up inheriting this building. And so he just let all these artists take over, good, they'll pay the taxes or whatever, and they had cheap rent there. But at one point he thought, I'm going to knock that down, I'm going to build my Trump Tower, my big thing. It's like Lloyd Goldman. So he had to get rid of, like, all these artists, right? And so he had to have all these thugs come in. And so, like, what he did is he sat them down, and he, you kind of have to, like, how do you get somebody to go in and just mess with these people that aren't doing anything wrong? Well, you have to say, well, they're going to say this and they're going to say that, and you're going to have to lay out all their arguments on the other side and then say this is going to be bullshit. Can you handle this? When they look at you and go, we live here, you're throwing us out of our home, I have a baby, it's like they're going to really try to pull on your heartstrings, man. Can you take it? When they throw that shit at you, can you take it? Can you say, no, this is the deal? It's like you got to play with the deal. You know, because if you can't do that, we can't use you. You know, you got to be a badass. They're gonna pull on your heartstrings, man. Can you handle that? And if you kind of cue them up for that, they're like, okay, I can handle that. Where if it just got thrown at them, they were going like, yeah, fuck this. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So like you kind of have to tell people this is going to happen. They're going to go after protesters. They're going to try to degrade protesters and call us the whiner class or something, or you lost, get over it. It ain't a fucking football game. But you know, if everybody knows this is going to happen going into it, when it happens, they go, oh, I know what they're doing. But if you let them get ahead of it, then they win.
I guess, but I mean, at the end of the day, is anybody really going to be able to change anyone's mind? Like, you can make the most brilliant piece of artwork, you know, the most pointed critique, or you could do the most targeted violence and destruction. And everybody that agrees with you is going to be like, yeah, but how many people are you actually going to peel off from anything?
Do you think the same shit you thought when you were in high school?
Yes and no. I'm not that different of a person. But I'm a reasonable person. I can be persuaded by facts and arguments where there's other more ideological people on either political side that will just not listen to, can't be convinced by reason.
Well, I think a lot of the people for Trump have already started being screwed over by him, and they're kind of like, holy shit. We didn't think he was going to do that. Like,
yeah, but everyone else is like, where the fuck were you? You know, he's doing exactly what he said he was going to do.
Yeah, but I mean, he also said things I liked. He said, I'm going to cut the military. I mean, I only heard him say it once.
Well, now he's changed his mind.
Right, but I mean, in a sentence, he would say contradictory things. So at the beginning of the sentence, he said what you wanted to hear. At the end, he said what I wanted to hear. So everybody heard what they wanted to hear.
Right.
People are optimistic, right?
Right, but I guess the.
But I like the part. Hey, let's really do huge infrastructure projects now that we're kind of ahead of the game for a minute, so that when it goes south again, we can do big manufacturing here because we built all the infrastructure and the high rail systems to do that. Let's take advantage of this moment.
Yeah, and maybe we don't have to manufacture toys in China anymore.
I like this that he said we don't have to go invade some fucking. I mean, like that. Invading the wrong country cost us a lot. We could have put a solar panel on every government building in the United States. We could have built a monorail all the way across the United States for the money we spent blowing up fucking buildings in the wrong country. And then that created ISIS and every fucking thing else. I mean, we'll be hanging for it forever.
Yeah, but the thing is, he's never going to do any of these things.
But the problem is, he's when he says these, people think okay, that's cool. He's not going to get us in another erroneous war. He's going to save us a lot of money like that, or I mean, they're hearing things that you're not hearing, and that's why they glommed onto him. And when he doesn't come through with that, they're going to turn on him.
I guess the question I'm asking though is, what are you going to do? What is your position or angle or response, or does it change your work at all, or does it? Or are you still right on the same track that you'd be on had Hillary won the election?
No, you change. You try to get ahead of it. I think a lot of it's what I just said, is anticipating what's going to happen and creating the narrative before somebody else creates a narrative. I mean, all artists really ever have done is create the narrative.
I guess I'm just wondering, is anybody listening that it matters?
Poetry before politics, like a lot of people refer to like kind of grand ideas before any of the ideas get implemented. Like in your world, like somebody makes a great science fiction book, and then somebody puts a lot of pressure on some scientist that works for him and says, I want to see that. I want to hold the phone in my hand. And they're like, that's not really possible. It's like, well, I read it in a science fiction book. I like that idea, and then they're going to have to go figure it out,
Have you ever been completely abjectly broke for a long period of time?
I've been homeless a couple times.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? Because you just were doing your artwork all the time?
Well, one time, I lived in Texas. I lived with 3 other people. We just kind of come off of this huge ordeal with, being busted for the billboards, and everybody's stressed out because we're going to prison and whatever. And then it was like we all had to pay our rent every month. And in Texas, if you haven't paid your rent for 3 days, like day 3 of the month, they just throw your shit in the yard and lock you out.
Ooh.
Yeah, they're hardcore. So what happened was there was a little bit of a messed up story. Like I had a show. We lived with the 4 guys that I did the billboards with. They got too stressed out about the court case. So 2 of them left, and then I had a show in Dallas. So I'm in Dallas. We live in Austin. I tell my crazy roommate, I said, just get 2 sweet college kids, put them in those rooms. I put the ad out. He took the first 2 people that came. One was a fucked up Vietnam vet, and the other was this crazy as hell girl, all twitchy and shit. So like she was like slashing his tires, and she was just crazy as all hell. But anyway, the month rolls around. The guy, I'm out doing billboards with Charlie, my roommate. He steals everything we had, throws it in the back of the truck. He had a check for me. He said, "Hey, I'm going to be a day late. You give me your check. You give me your check. I'm just going to take it over straight to the landlord's house." And then he took money from the girl, and then he took everybody's shit, put it in the back of his truck, and left. So we come back from doing the billboards. Our house is wiped out. He's stolen her money. Now we just canceled our checks. But still, now it's day 2 and day 3 is about to hit. We still haven't paid rent yet, but we're actually going to be able to come up with the money. We got to cover her. But, meanwhile, we're scrambling. We had to go find where the fuck he was at, get all our shit back from him. And then by day 3, like, everything we had was in the yard, and then it all got stolen, and we were homeless. And then he kept our deposit. But, it's Texas, so...
Wow.
But he didn't like us being there because we were getting a lot of shit from the neighbors because they thought I was running a business out of the house because I was an art student. I was building all these sculptures in the backyard, and believe me, nobody was buying them. They were actually the big things I was putting on the billboards.
I mean, were you always early on successful selling your shit, or did
No.
you were a miserable wretch just like everyone else at one point?
Oh shit! I lived in the East Village in a basement apartment. I would wake up covered with rats in the middle of the night. It was a half basement, so these all the drug dealers would sit on my stoop. It was at 3rd and D.
When was this?
And I can't fucking go out on the stoop, because they would come at 12 at night, put the fucking ghetto blaster there, and it just blow out my apartment. If I wanted to watch TV, I couldn't watch TV. They were too loud. And I can't go, "Hey fella, sitting there with your Uzi." They would patrol the block with Uzis.
Wow.
And say, "Could you please not be on my porch?" It's like you can't say that to those guys. So I would just, it was a pretty miserable time, and I had no heat,
So, and how long did you live like
Oh,
this?
and
what was your work at the time?
I was driving a truck, and then my friend and 2 of my friends came. Lauren came, and Trey came, and I had built this weird box in the basement that I kind of like. I had an electric blanket, and that's how I stayed warm because we had no heat.
Dangerous.
Right? Yeah, I know. And then so I let those 2 sleep there, because I'm a gentleman. And so I slept on the floor just like this all night, and then the next morning I had to get up and drive this big truck, and we were driving to Connecticut, and I was thinking, what, fuck, it's not my day to drive, because we would switch days driving, and then the guy goes, "I'm really sick, I can't drive," and they left some road off the map, and we saw like a big tunnel, and we're trying to go through the tunnel, and we go out and look at it, and it goes, "I think we're good, we can get in it," because it wasn't marked, and we get about halfway through, it's a long tunnel, and I'm like, "Yeah, we're good," and I took the top of the truck off, which meant that I was banned from driving trucks. This is the only job I was qualified for, because I was an artist, not...
And were you not really selling work at the time? Or
No,
you were doing,
I was driving a truck.
But what was your artwork at that time?
It got pretty dark because,
But were you putting shit up on the street?
Oh, yeah, but that you don't get paid for that.
No, I know.
Yeah, I was doing billboards and putting stuff up on the streets, and I never really stopped.
And you were just doing it because you needed to do it? Or what made you want to do all this shit in the first place?
Well, I mean, it sucks to make art nobody sees.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I don't know. I mean, it got pretty hairy for a while.
And how'd you get out of it? What was what rescued you from poverty? I'm just asking for myself because I need something to connect.
I just remember like things kept getting worse and worse, and then my girlfriend left me, and she's like, "You'll never have another girlfriend the rest of your life. You're too much of a fuck up. You don't have any money, and blah 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 or whatever." And then Tarsa moved into town, and I'd always had this insane crush on her, and we'd actually lived together in college, and I just thought, I got to prove myself. If I really want to be with her, I got to prove myself. And I remember I went out and made like $30,000 in one day.
How the hell did you do that?
I just got this kind of overwhelming chutzpah. Like I went to Michel Roux, and I called him up and I said, he's the guy that was doing the absolute herring, absolute char, absolute ruche. And I went there under the pretense of writing for this magazine, which I did. I wrote under an alias for this Dallas magazine, Detour, which actually became a national magazine.
Yeah, I know.
And so they called him up and said, "Does this guy write for you?" And I go, "Yeah, he does good stuff." And so I went to interview him, and then about 5 minutes into the interview, he says, "I didn't come to interview you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to waste your time. I came here because I'm an artist and I want you to see my art. Would you mind?" And he goes, "You know what? I hustle my way to the top. I get it." And so I pulled out the work, and he looked at it, and he goes, "We're going to do absolute English. You can have fucking full page ads and Vanity Fair and all these magazines. And you know what? Hell, give me a deal. I'll buy 6 paintings off of you."
Really?
So I sold him like a whole bunch of big paintings.
And at that time, you were desperate and broke.
Desperate and broken.
And
but I went home.
One move, and you flipped it.
One fucking chutzpah
to
day.
impress your wife.
To impress my future wife. To say, look, I actually have the ability to make money. The problem is I'm a lot more focused on just doing street art and being a fuck up.
What would have happened if Tarsa never came along? Would you have been able to do what you've done in your life
Absolutely
without
not.
her?
No. You have to have the right partner in life, I think.
Right. I mean, it just seems like a lot of the time, just with few exceptions. Well, I know people. You know, you got a wife too. You got a helper wife, don't you?
Yeah, he does. He has a great wife. Yeah.
See, that's my problem.
No, but it's the weird thing about life is that you
Buff Monster's off camera. We might trot him out.
People
for the end of the
think
episode.
that oh, I got fired from this job. It's like, yeah, but you never would have got that other job. You wouldn't have been available for that other job if you hadn't been fired from that job. Oh,
right.
my gallery kicked me out or they folded, and then you get a better gallery. It's like they never would have taken you because they would have had the respect for the other gallery and say, I'm not going to go after somebody from another gallery.
Seems like you almost have to have the rug pulled out from under you, or else you're never going to do it yourself.
Right.
It's like you have to be forced to do it.
Right.
I think that's why I'm really happy right now that I'm really broke and $30,000 in debt, because if I was comfortable right now, I'd just be doing the same shit day in and day out. But the fact that I'm in like this incredibly dangerous position requires me to pull something out of myself that maybe I didn't know was there, and make a thing happen. So,
well, I mean, if you looked at our president,
if a guy like you can,
if you looked at our president, you would probably figure out he's probably $1 billion in debt.
Yeah. And
I know some of the bigger artists, like I'm in no debt, but there's other artists that are like $100 million in debt, and they
go about their business like everything's fine.
They're doing great because they just keep doubling down and getting bigger and bigger. You keep expanding.
But when do you pay the
universe.
fucking debt off?
Never. You die.
What? You never pay the debt? That's fucked up.
You just keep I don't know. Well, like our friends at Pop, I mean, they're going to refinance for $1 billion.
What?
You just keep growing and doubling it and reinvesting in it. I mean, I don't think a guy like Disney. I don't know if there was ever a moment when everything was just like flush. I mean, when it got flush, he took a bigger risk and did something bigger. And,
yeah, I guess. I mean,
he did Disneyland and he did Disney World, and
I guess in this life, you're foolish if you're expecting some sort of security or something stable. It's like this whole thing is a big fucking risk, isn't it?
Well, I mean, if your belly's full, then you're probably okay. Oh, I don't know. I mean, Trump could really. I mean, I swear to God, he's gonna screw over some artist. And you think he's not? He was already going after artists before he got elected.
Screw him over like how? Like send the secret police to break his legs?
Or send him to Guantanamo Bay, and everybody will go, okay, now nobody's criticizing Trump anymore. I mean, something will happen.
That's gonna happen?
I don't know what's gonna happen. I just know that having powerful people go against you, it could be pretty dangerous. I think it's pretty risky now to be critical of the administration.
But doesn't that mean it's more important than ever to do it? I mean, it's real easy to criticize Obama. It's like you're safe to say whatever the fuck you want, but he doesn't really need to be that criticized as harshly. Where this is like a real emergency.
He opened a whole other branch of government, cost us a fortune. I mean, he built a branch of government solely to spy on us.
Yeah, I know that, but I mean, people were critical of that from the beginning.
Right.
Been critical of that and felt comfortable to be critical about it. I don't know if it did any good to change things, but there was no fear that if you're going to criticize an Obama policy that somebody's going to knock on your door and take you away.
Right.
Whereas people think that could really happen in this case because this guy, is that type, supposedly.
Well, I would never underestimate somebody like him.
Well, what would you do if they came and showed up?
What do you mean what I would do? I probably wouldn't have a lot of choice. I'd do whatever they told me to do. They'd hold a machine gun in my head.
Yeah, and then you just stop making art. Or if they just said, Ron, stop making art or we'll kill you and your family.
That usually doesn't happen that way. A lot of people that have gotten themselves in a lot of trouble and then they persist doing it because you kind of come crazy and you become about your cause and you know.
Yeah, I mean that's a risky tactic,
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess it depends on what the culture is. I mean, my belief is that, and maybe I'm wrong, but I just feel like maybe in certain places of the world, strong men like that get away with things because of just, what culture is. But I think in America, we just don't take that shit. It's like this country was born out of a rebellion, and we've always been suspicious of authority and always just thrown out, the people like this and pushed back against people like this. I just don't know if Americans would take that kind of crap.
Well, we'll see how rigorous our institutions are and how people willing are to fight back.
So far, they seem
to
be
a lot of the
working
reason
okay.
this country does well is because it's stable and people will invest in this country because it's way more stable than their country. So, I mean, I think that we all have, an impetus to keep this country stable and not screw up really bad because it helps us, And most of the shit that people worry about is this bullshit anyway. It's like, I'm going to be killed by terrorists. It's like, no, you fucking not. I mean, you might be killed by getting diabetes from eating all that crap-ass food, but you ain't scared of that. You might go flying down the highway, texting your girlfriend, and get killed by that. That's actually a real possibility. But what the odds of you getting killed by a terrorist are?
I think you're doing quite a lot in the fight against diabetes, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it's working. I don't have any way to test it. I only have people coming up to me and saying, I used your MC Supersize or some of your fat cereal characters to have the talk with my kids, and because it was humor and they liked the character and they understood what the character was saying, that it emboldened them to say, I'm not going to make those stupid choices anymore.
Right.
And
right.
hopefully they'll sustain those habits for life. But I think they're great tools. Toys can be political.
Of course they can. And I also think that humor is really important too.
It's a safe space to talk about stuff.
Right. I mean, I just think it seems like Saturday Night Live is having a great run with this.
Yeah.
And it seems like some of the most biting criticism is coming from like memes and comedy and things of that nature. It's like all these high-minded intellectual, essays about XYZ are all fine and good, but they're not. I don't think they have as much power to move people. It's just a funny gag.
They don't. No. You turn something into a joke, it becomes a joke.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I think we can laugh this guy out of power.
A lot of people think that.
Yeah, and it's so cool. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great for the culture. It's gonna be great for everything. I think this is actually a good thing. So
it could be a good thing if we all stay on our toes. Yeah.
Well, we need a common enemy. Don't you think? Mm-hmm. He's such a perfect target, and it's like the entire world hates him, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people don't like super overprivileged people to begin with. I think people like the whole American idea is that I walked in here with nothing and I came out with everything. It's not, hey, my dad gave me everything and I lost half of it.
And fuck you.
Yeah. Fuck you.
And fuck you. You can't have any of it.
Yeah. And
so
but I saw a little meme about that was about welfare, and it's like, well, it looks like that everybody's worried that Social Security won't become solvent, but nobody's worried that we're going to lose welfare, and that's their meme, and it's just like, who got fucking welfare? Donald Trump got more welfare than you can even dream of.
Yeah.
I mean, you worry about some poor lady, whose husband left her or died of a drug overdose, and she's getting a little bit of welfare that amounts to absolutely nothing. Disney gets more welfare.
Right.
Donald Trump gets more welfare. I mean, he gets real fucking welfare. Nobody's worried about that, man. I gave that man $100,000. I lived in Jersey City. They doubled my taxes so they could give him a free fucking building, and he doesn't have to pay taxes for 30 years. Nobody's mad about that.
Yeah, why isn't he hanging by a pole? How do people get away with this shit?
I think in
Is
America
it just
they
so
just
incomprehensible?
I think they just love the rich. It's what so like, do you ever go to another culture and everybody's really poor, but they have this great temple and it's made of all these little things, and it's kind of like we all took our stuff and put it together as one big thing. So maybe there's like a human instinct to do that. It's like, what? Instead of us all having a swimming pool, let's just have a giant swimming pool for Trump.
Yeah.
And then he'll be like our millionaire, our billionaire. And we can take pride in that. Look at how rich and opulent he is, even though we're starving. It's cool because...
But I may be able to do that one day.
Maybe that's
Maybe I can be rich too, so I don't want rich people to pay taxes, because when it's my turn to be rich,
But if you're paying taxes now, you'll never get rich, so...
Yeah? Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
You got to cheat to win, man.
Yeah, they say the Godfather novel, one of my favorite books. The title page there's a little quote, and it says, "Behind every great success is a crime," which I think is true.
Well, I went to talk to these underprivileged kids in Chicago, and I don't know what got into me, but I said basically, look, you guys got nothing. And if you're going to win this game, you're going to have to cheat. And don't let anybody tell you different. You're not getting this handed to you. You're going to have to fudge, And so look for a way in. But you can't just totally be by the books, or you will just become a slave.
Oh, yeah, it's designed for that.
Yeah.
Wow. That's great. What else?
Nice, Ron. You're not talking to my class.
No. I mean, I think the world would be a much better place if you were a teacher than somebody else. It's like people need to sell it like it is.
Well,
people need to.
I have a whole time with the teaching thing, because I just see these kids going into debt to be in college, and especially like in art school. Like there's no really end to that rainbow,
Yeah.
And then they don't even want to teach them ways to make money. They just want to teach them how to be in the art world, and 1 out of 100,000 of them will actually pull that off, and the rest got to figure out how to make money off art.
I mean, that's something that can that be taught?
Yeah, of course.
Business shit.
Yeah. Business schools. Yeah.
Buff Monson knows about that.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us what you think? Hey, Buffmasters in the house.
Am I going to fit over here?
Were you there the whole time?
Wait, where are we? Oh,
There you are. There you are.
Were you sitting over there the
I'm
whole
sitting
time?
there the whole time,
God.
man.
Give us your
Where did you
opinion.
come from?
Well, I went to school for business and art. You know, and I didn't know that I wanted to
There were
major.
two separate curriculums, or was it the art of business of art?
Oh, right, it's two separate curriculums,
Right.
right? So I had really good grades. I went straight into the business school because I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew a knowledge or some sort of understanding of business would help in whatever you did.
Right.
And then everyone in business school wanted to do like investment banking and stuff. I was like, God, this is so lame. Like, this is so stupid. So, I kind of had to go through the process of figuring out, okay, well, what the hell am I really going to do? And so it turned out that being creative in some capacity was kind of something that was interesting to me. And so, so I majored in art, minored in business. And everyone's like, oh my God, it's so smart you did that. I was like, well, not really. It seemed pretty obvious to me. You know, this idea of a starving artist.
Yeah, I hate that idea.
Yeah, well, it just seems like...
I want to be a starving plumber.
You can do that. I think you could do that today.
Well, the weird thing about
Yeah, I think you could.
the weird thing about artists is people will do art for free. But I've never met a guy that says, you know what, let me plumb your house, like, for free.
Sure.
Because I just fucking love to be a plumber. Never heard that.
Yeah.
And also it's like they'll say, like, oh, let's just have a bunch of kids do this mural because, whatever, just art.
Yeah.
But nobody would say, hey, let's just have like some kids like do the plumbing for the school because, that'd be a nice little project for them.
Yeah.
So they always treat art like it's like not a real thing.
Right? Well, like we were talking about how like
Is art a real thing? Isn't that
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
a
what
real
makes
thing.
it so?
It's a real thing.
But it's less. It's much more ethereal than plumbing. I mean,
But so-
But it's
remember-
like saying, is the human ability to say what if like important to humanity?
yes, but it's just more difficult to quantify the
Do you
value.
think
of it.
that if a plumber donated his time to do plumbing for charity, he could write off his time?
Yeah,
Yeah.
But we were talking about how artists can't
yeah.
write off their time.
they can't.
No.
Well, you used to be able to write off the cost of a painting. So if the painting's $100,000, you get to write off $100,000. Now you get to write off $150 of material cost.
Yeah,
That's why people aren't donating art anymore.
yeah, but you've already taught all yourself how to deal with all this shit, right?
I mean, hey man, there's a lot to learn. But I read a million books.
Yeah, I
read
know.
books all the time.
But I guess the
and there's,
question I will always wonder: do you ever find yourself in your creative process? Do you feel like, fuck, I'm thinking I'm doing my work more as a businessman now than an artist, or do you ever feel like your business considerations are in some way hampering your free artistic expression?
Definitely, because as an artist, well, I have to create work. But as like a small business owner, I have to be mindful of the business. I think we'd all rather just be in one way. And I think you're in the place where you can just be creative and Tarsa can handle the business, and that's fine. I think that's a really nice place to be. Like you and I, we run a small business.
Yeah, but I'm failing at it. And I think one of the reasons why is because it's like I just want to do what I feel like doing. And it's like the business part of it always sort of comes on the back. It's just like, and it's like, if I was a little more smart about doing the business and then just sort of plugging my creativity into sort of this business plan or whatever that I have, and instead I'm just like, oh, I feel like doing this today, even though this is going to make more money. This is what's inspiring me, and it's like, and then I always wind up like caught out there.
I think.
But I'm creatively satisfied.
I think consistency is key. I think consistency, personally, creatively. Marketing wise, social media, I think just consistency, right? I think we've talked about that before. If you got friends that always pick up the phone, great. Those are your friends. You got a guy that's hard to track down, a guy that's not going to call you back. I mean, that's just like a thing, right? But if you look at like consistency is like an unnatural. I think it's like an unhuman thing.
You have to make it happen.
I think you have to. Yeah, I think you have to be conscientious about it.
Well, and if also you look at things, you're dealing with all these different people on the other side. So it's easier for them if they know exactly what you're going to do. They can plug you into stuff because we know what Buster's going to do. He's not going to come out and do a Rembrandt-looking thing.
Yeah.
We know exactly what we're going to get, and we know this works, and we know what he's going to do.
But I
it
think
makes their life easier.
I think it's like a quality control thing, right? It's like you want to have a consistent vision. How it manifests itself can be different, but that anything leaving the studio has their signature on it, and there's some consistency to what that thing is, right? And I think that's the whole thing about branding. Right?
Yeah.
So a psychedelic figure, okay, it might be talking about these range of things, but we know that it's going to fit within these things, and it's going to be this size, it's going to be this price. This is going to be the thing, and I think being consistent in that. I think it's good, and I think people look for consistency.
Right.
You know, I think that if you go into 20 different McDonald's and they look 20 different ways, you're like, I can't deal with this. Like that's the why that's how like these mass culture, mass market kind of things come out to be. It's the consistency.
Yeah,
you
but
want
then
to be able
isn't
to walk
something
into a
also
Starbucks and
getting
say
lost at
thing.
the same time?
Yeah, you're sacrificing something to do that. Yeah. You can't have one McDonald's with filet mignon.
Yeah, but it would be cool.
Well,
know?
you do have different ones. You go to Canada, you get
They're not that different.
No. You get pizza. Like you go to Hawaii, where I'm from, you get ramen.
Yeah, the McDonald's in
Simon
Japan
ramen.
has weird ass
You
shit
don't
too.
get like amazing 5-star food
Well, no.
at a McDonald's.
No.
Yeah. No, to be that big, you cannot do something that good. It's just not. That doesn't work. Yeah.
Well, it just seems.
Well, so
like,
you're saying big and good are mutually.
Well, at some
exclusive?
point, you have to dumb it down a bit to go bigger.
Yeah, but look at the artists that have the biggest artists have the biggest staff and the biggest thing. I mean,
Right, and the most consistent art. You should like,
and maybe the best art.
you should be.
arguably.
Is it?
Not necessarily, but you should definitely be able to walk in. You know, to really play the game on a big level, you should be able to walk in because what people want, like you come into my house and you go, "Oh my God, is that a real Roy Lichtenstein?" Oh yes, it is. Well, how'd you know it was? Because he has fucking dots. Do you think he really like? I can't wait to paint dots today.
At some point, he must have said that.
I'm satisfied. My artistic soul. No, at some point he said I have to have a very consistent product to work on this level.
Okay,
and
but
that I can't go in and paint a Rembrandt-looking thing or just have an experimental day because I can't blow my brand.
Well, no, or you
and
can
even,
do it. You just can't let it leave the studio.
Right. Or even like his early work, the stuff that looks like weird Indian painting. Nobody wants that. I mean, it's fucking Roy Lichtenstein, and still nobody wants to even pay like $100 grand.
But then after a while, that sucks for the artist. Maybe it's great because you're making money, and it's great for the people that collect your stuff. But at some point, then it's like, am I even an artist anymore? Am I just like a factory? Am I?
But
just...
what's your goal in life? If
My
you,
personal
if you
goal
can
in
say
life?
if you can say my goal is to make as much money as possible, then make your art as uniform as possible. If you say my goal is to wake up every day with a new idea and have a new artistic adventure, that's what I really want. How I want to spend my life.
And I want to make $1 million doing it.
Some things become mutually exclusive. So do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I can't speak for anybody else. But
No, but I find like with people, like if you can tell me what you really want and not what you think people want you to have or whatever, if you can really identify what you want, you can get it.
Yeah,
But you can't just want everything, Or...
Right, and then maybe it's not for everybody to do art professionally. It's like some people would. I mean, that's where I'm coming at right now. I feel like trying to sell it all the time is like totally destroyed it for me. And it's like I want to do something else. So if I want to do something creative, I could just do it because it makes me happy.
Mm-hmm.
I think you were happier when you didn't look at it as art.
Yeah, maybe. Well, whether it's art or not, it's something I have to sell.
No, I know, but I think 6 years ago, I think you were happy making these bootleg toys and not trying to think any different about it.
Well, what if you put the bootleg toys and put a little weed in each one of them? And then you just like selling weed, and everybody wants weed.
Then why don't I just sell weed?
Well, because they're getting the Trojan horse of your art, and then they're smoking the weed, going, "Hey, this is kind of cool," and then they get into it.
Fuck that.
Okay.
Not everybody can be Ron English or Buff Monster. And it's like they got to figure out some other way to do it.
Hey man, I'm still
figuring it out.
Like,
Really?
When
That's a rare moment of contrition from you.
But when I was
Usually
living in
you're
that
super
basement,
confident.
I lived in the basement with another guy, and we both kind of decided like how we gonna do our art thing. And I was kind of like, I just want to wake up every day and be an artist. And that means sometimes I have to do commercial stuff or kind of cater to some collector. I'm going to do that. And he goes, I would never do that. I would never do that. And if that means I have to go get a job being an IT guy at a computer place, and then when I come home at night I make exactly the art I want to make, that's the road I'm going to go. And then he lived his life that way. And he moved to the Midwest. He's an IT guy, and he makes absolutely stunningly brilliant art. It's not that commercial. It's more installation art in these museums in the Midwest. But I mean, he's living the life he wants to live, and he will sacrifice his days to the IT job so that he can make exactly the art he wants to make. He made a decision. Yeah, but he knew what he wanted.
And you knew what you wanted.
And I knew what I wanted. I want to get up every day, and if today I'm doing an ad for Obsolete, it's like, I can deal with that. If that keeps me in the studio, I'm good,
Yeah.
I think
and a lot of the commercial stuff is more interesting. It brings other opportunities, and it's a lot more fun than you think it would be.
It's challenging too to have to like.
Oh my God! A lot of my greatest ideas came from doing commercial things because you're challenged in a different way than you would just challenge yourself to create your normal body of work. You have to solve another problem.
Yeah, it's problem solving, and that's fun if you like to use your brain and exercise your creativity and like your faculties and work with other people. One of the things I hate about doing my work is I'm alone all the time. And it's fun to be part of a team and shit like that, So, it's time to get the band back together. What's up with your band?
Oh my God.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
We wrote 33 songs. It tells this epic story. The songs are beyond belief. I found the right partners to write the songs with, and now we're recording this. When does this air? This week or never?
Yeah,
or?
soon, a week or so.
Okay. Anyway, we're going to
End of
start a
February.
GoFundMe, and I'm going to put a lot of great, cool, one-of-a-kind prizes up and to raise the money.
And you're going to put out
make
an
the
album
record.
with 33 songs on it?
Yeah, it's like in 3 parts. The first part explains who all the characters in Delusionville are. It's like the rabbits in Delusionville.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people have been following my characters for years and probably don't understand what the story of all these characters are. So this will kind of tell the story of who they are and how they all fit together and how they all came to be. The second part is about the revolution, and the third part is about how a revolution actually plays out in their
How the hell
reality.
long is this album going to be?
About an hour and a half.
Oh, okay. You're going to put it out on vinyl?
Maybe. I mean, well, first we're just going to put it on CDs, and then...
CDs? What's that?
You have to physically give people something. You can't
I
say,
play
"Hey, we're
CDs
just going to put it
and
on iTunes and you can get it there."
I guess you could just give them a USB drive.
Well, like if we hit our goal, then I'm going to actually hand do every album cover.
Oh, I see. I
So
see.
it's almost I don't want to quite hit the goal because then I have to hand do every
Yeah.
album cover.
Yeah.
But
What instruments do you play?
I don't play any
Do you
instruments. I sing. Well, I go in and we write the song and I sing the song. So I come in and like, okay, this part goes,
But then
all I want is everything, and I sing the scratch vocal,
And then someone
a
does
real
it.
singer comes in and does it, and then those guys could
Interesting.
blackmail me by releasing my vocals, and they got me on that one.
Interesting. That's cool.
But okay, so like I approach painting by I stretch canvas and I make a painting or whatever. I do that's my like I'm in the same thing you are. I'm by myself doing this by myself without having to deal with other people. And then with this, it's a more collaborative process. And maybe I'm more like Jeff Koons when I do this, like where he doesn't really actually touch anything, but whatever he sees in his head becomes this giant sculpture. And it doesn't really matter how it happens. It just matters that it happens. You know what I mean? And whatever I heard in my head is on that record, and that's the goal.
That's very creatively satisfying, isn't it?
God, and it's also it's aggravating and it's brilliantly beautiful to work with other people. It's like when you guys gel together and it's just you get each other and it's happening. That's wonderful. But then they have personal problems and they fight with each other and there's other stuff that's kind of goes the other direction.
Dude,
And
I've
you realize
been in
when I'm in my
bands.
studio, I do not fight with myself.
Yeah.
And if anybody comes here, to help me, I'm paying them, so they're going to do whatever I say, and they're not going to complain. But the other people, they go like, I don't really want her on the record, and blah blah blah. And
Oh,
it's like,
God, there's nothing
yeah.
worse than like when you're in a band and you're like having this like drop dead argument over just like a 2-bar keyboard sound of like should that be in there or not, with the level like, oh, this guy played this little it sounded great, and then the singer was like, I don't like that, take it off, and the band was split. No. And it's even though it's such a short piece of music, it just like every single fucking detail is like a line in the sand, and after a while it's
I
just
don't
like
think I could do
it's
that.
crazy.
But
It's
all
fucking crazy.
successful people know how to like not sweat the little shit and finish shit. You have to know how to finish and release.
Yeah, I know, but then there's also the thing is like, how much am I going to compromise? It's like I'm making music because I feel passionate about it, and it's just like I'm sacrificing to make this shit, and I don't want to fucking give up this thing that I think is really important, and fuck you because you don't...
And that's why I'm not in a band with you.
What? Well...
you're taking it too seriously, man. It's better to get it
No,
out.
I mean, you got to decide where you're gonna always have to make compromises with other people, but then it's like sometimes you're in a band with somebody that never compromises, and then you start to feel like a schmuck, especially when they make the wrong, stupid decisions. So it's just like,
You got a lot to say about this.
I do. I've been.
Or
in
we
bands
did a
lot.
record with I did one with Don Godia Jack Medicine a few years ago, and it was wrote a lot of great songs. And it took us a few
Is it
years to
hip-hop?
write them all. No, it's like it was 60s AM pop type of style. But anyway, so like we finished the whole record, and then we're gonna release it. And I was having a lot of health problems at the time. I didn't know it was actually my gallbladder, but because nobody diagnosed it, and I thought I was probably gonna die. I mean, you roll around the floor in pain, nobody knows why. And then he goes, Danny Bloom, the famous producer, he's gonna produce it for us, but it's gonna take at least another year before it's finished now. And I'm like, fuck, I'll be dead, But at the end of the year, it's like I didn't want to wait another year. I wanted to get it out there, It's like, but at the end of the year, he fucking killed it. It's like, and I'm so proud that he worked on it, and what he did was magic, So I mean, sometimes like right now, I'd like to get it out, but if we have to spend more time to make it better, you have to kind of do that.
I mean, I guess you just have to live a long time.
Yeah.
These things take time.
Well, it's also weird when you're my age and you realize some of the projects you work on, you won't see the end of them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not that old yet, but I'm saying at some point you realize that this is it. that I'm only going to get to do a few more big
Well,
projects.
Walt Disney never finished Disney World. He died way early on in that process.
Right.
And Disney World became something totally different than what he imagined it would be.
Right.
Really?
Yeah.
What did he imagine it to be?
Oh, Epcot Center was really like this, like city of the future, and he really wanted to build everything, and people were living there, and this really was like a model for what the future could be. And then he died, and then some of the people that worked there was like, okay, well, we got to finish this idea, and they're like, no, man, Walt's dead. Like, no, that idea is over. Mm-hmm. Like, now we're going to do whatever we think it should be. Mm-hmm. And Epcot Center became a ride. It never was the city of the future.
I gotta wonder what the fuck George Lucas must be going through, looking at having
counting his billions.
Well, no, I mean, listen, he donated. He sold Lucasfilm for $4 billion, and he donated the money to charity. He was already a multi-billionaire.
I didn't hear that part of it.
He didn't. Yeah.
No, but the weird thing about money is at some point it's like you got a house, you got spaghetti on your plate, you got a glass of wine. There's not like there's not some $1 million glass of wine that's so much better.
Yeah.
No, and then it really, and the real thing is your art. So, and now he's let other people like touch his art, So, yeah, I don't think money means that much. It means money means a lot when you don't have any money, but once you have money, it doesn't mean anything.
No, I think it's really inspiring that Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, they're encouraging all their friends to give away like at least 50%. Warren Buffett's giving away 90%. He's like, don't worry, my kids have all the stuff they need. Don't worry about us.
Right. I guess I was more thinking along the lines of like having created something and like, Walt Disney didn't live to see other people take his vision somewhere he wouldn't have wanted to go. Right. Whereas like this guy is still alive. So they're making Star Wars movies that aren't the Star Wars movies he would have made, and it just...
But also, I think
they're probably better though.
Yeah, but still, I'm just saying that's.
No, I think so.
I think so.
But I think with Walt, it's like his vision wasn't. He didn't walk out the door with, walk into the world with that vision. The vision. So like first he did Disney World, and then he saw what fucked up about Disneyland. And then he realized, like, we didn't raise enough money. We didn't buy all the area around there. So everybody that goes to stay there, well, I can control the Disneyland experience. It's going to be this magical experience. But then you're going to have to stay in some sleazy hotel and there's some hooker there or whatever, because everybody bought it. Other people, they didn't have enough money to buy all the land. That's when he went to Florida, because we have to control the whole situation. So as soon as you get there, you're in a controlled situation, and you're not going to deal with some...
That must be such an incredible experience to be able to, like, have enough power and money to just...
But you're creating that experience for other people too. You're creating this fantasy but I'm going to give you a total immersion experience, like,
Yeah, that must feel great.
Yeah. No, I mean, I would love to...
I mean, you're still trying to make a mini golf course, Imagine being able to do
golf
something
course.
like that.
No, that might actually happen soon.
That'd be amazing.
I would do a theme park, and I would make I would think, like, the lines are going to be fucking cool as hell. You're going to be in art installations that are going to educate you about what the ride's going to be, so you feel like you're being... but it's just as fun to stand in line as it is to go on the ride. You know what I mean?
Well, better you eat healthy and exercise.
I eat healthy and exercise.
Good, because we need you to stick around.
Okay.
Because we all look up to you and admire you.
Oh, I didn't know that. Huh.
What? You didn't?
Come on.
Come on.
I thought you thought I was a schmuck.
Well, that can also be true. I mean, it's amazing that a schmuck like you can actually accomplish such great things in the world. It makes schmucks like us feel encouraged. Right. Yeah, it gives us hope. It gives us hope. So, I don't know, I'm pretty satisfied.
Well, in the end, you know who wins? The person that tries the hardest and the longest.
Really?
Yeah.
It's that simple.
It's a war of attrition.
Well, I asked my agent, I go, so who actually makes it in Hollywood? And she goes, oh, well, the ones that want it the most.
But isn't that obvious?
Yeah, I know. Everything smart's obvious, right? Yeah. Anyway, well, that was fun.
All right, thanks for watching the Super Suck Hour.
All right.
Now you should turn the cameras around and show them this blizzard that's happening the whole time.
Nobody gives a flying fuck, but okay.
No, all your fans in Florida will think, God, we live in Florida,
Yeah. Oh, boy, here we go. Oh, boy.
And we got dollar slice
fucking freezing, dude. It's freezing. Fuck, it's snow.
Go back to California.
Yeah, whatever.
For more exclusive content, support us on Patreon. Patreon.com/thesucklord. Shop online at suckadelic.com. Join the newsletter for updates and promotion. Follow me, The Sucklord, on Instagram and Twitter, @Sucklord. On Facebook, The Sucklord. Music by the Crystal Pharaoh. This has been a Suckadelic Entertainment Enterprise production.